business consultant and author Michael LeBoeuf says devoting a little of yourself to everything means committing a great deal of yourself to nothing. Focused concentration is one of the keys to success. To have focus, you must understand priorities. Here's why. Time is our most precious commodity. Given the choice, would you rather save time or money? Most people focus on dollars. But how you spend your time is much more important than how you spend your money. Money mistakes can often be corrected, but when you lose time, it's gone forever. Your priorities determine how you spend your time, and time is precious. The following statements may help you put time in perspective. To know the value of 1 year, ask the student who failed the final exam. To know the value of 1 month, ask the mother of a premature baby. To know the value of 1 week, ask the editor of a weekly news magazine. To know the value of 1 day, ask the wage earner who has 6 children. To know the value of 1 hour, ask the lovers who are waiting to meet. To know the value of 1 minute, ask the person who missed the plane. To know the value of 1 second, ask the person who survived the accident. And to know the value of 1 millisecond, ask the Olympic silver medalist. We cannot change time, only our priorities. Sales consultant and author Myers Barnes says, time management has nothing to do with the clock, but everything to do with organizing and controlling your participation in certain events that coordinate with the clock. Einstein understood time management is an oxymoron. It cannot be managed. You can't save time, lose time, turn back the hands of time, or have more time tomorrow than today. Time is unemotional, uncontrolled, unencumbered. It moves forward regardless of circumstances, and in the game of life creates a level playing field for everyone. Since you can't change time, you must instead change your approach to it. We cannot do everything. There was a time in my life when I thought I could do everything, but I was very young, energetic, and naive. Chinese author and philosopher Lin Yutang said, besides the noble art of getting things done, there is the noble art of leaving things undone. The wisdom of life consists of the elimination of non-essentials. You can have anything you want, but you cannot have everything you want. You have to choose. Excellence comes from doing the right things right. If you're not sure what the right things are, pretend you have only 6 months to live. The things you would do in that short time are the right things. Priorities help us to choose wisely. Author Robert J. McCain says the reason most goals are not achieved is that we spend our time doing second things first. Let's face it, there are a lot of things vying for your attention. Many people want to put you on their agenda. Thousands of manufacturers want you to spend your money on their product. Even your own desires can be so diverse and your attention so scattered that you often aren't sure what should get your attention. That's why you need to focus. To be successful, you can't just run on the fast track. Instead, run on your own track. People who reach their potential and fulfill their dreams determine and act on their priorities daily. When I first graduated from college and began my career, I was not working according to my own agenda. Back in the 1960s, when I studied for the ministry, the majority of my coursework had prepared me to do counseling and administration. So when I began working in 1969, guess what I spent most of my time doing? That's right, counseling and administration. Nothing could have been farther from my natural gifts or my natural inclinations. Despite much hard work, I was neither fulfilled or effective. Because I wanted to improve myself and pick up skills I didn't learn in college, in 1971 I began working on a business degree. While reading for one of the courses, I came across a paragraph written about Italian economist Vilfredo Pareto. It contained information about prioritizing called the Pareto principle. It said that by focusing your attention on the top 20% of all your priorities, you would get an 80% return on your effort. That was my eureka moment. That's when I made this decision. I will prioritize my life and give focus and energy to those things that give the highest return. From the moment I made that decision, I have been a practitioner of the Pareto principle, and I have taught it to others for 33 years. If you want to change the way you look at yourself, and what you do by making a decision concerning your priorities, then do the following. Take back today. Poet Carl Sandburg said, "Time is the most valuable coin in your life. You and you alone will determine how that coin will be spent. Be careful that you do not let other people spend it for you. Your greatest possession is the 24 hours you have directly ahead of you. How will you spend it? Will you give in to the pressure or focus on priorities? Will you allow pointless emails, unimportant tasks, telemarketers, interruptions, and other distractions to consume your day? Or will you take complete responsibility for how you spend your time, take control of the things you can, and make today yours? If you don't decide how your day will be spent, someone else will. No daily dozen issue has added more to my success than the principle of priorities. When I discovered that I needed to change my approach to my day and my career, I started by asking myself 3 critical questions. Number 1, what is required of me? Any realistic assessment of priorities in any area of life must start with a realistic assessment of what a person must do. For you to be a good spouse or parent, what is required of you? To satisfy your employer, what must you do? When ordering priorities, always start with the requirement question and give it careful thought before moving on to the next question. Number 2, what gives me the greatest return? As you progress in your career, you begin to discover that some activities yield a much higher return for the effort than others do. The next place to focus your attention is on those high return activities. Question number 3, what gives me the greatest reward? If you do only what you must and what is effective, you will be highly productive, but you may not be content. I think it's also important to consider what gives you personal satisfaction. However, I find that some people want to start with the reward question and go no further than that. No one can be successful who doesn't possess the discipline to take care of the first 2 areas before adding the third. It was a great day in my church when I stopped counseling people and stopped getting bogged down in administrative details. But finding my strength zone took some time and exploration. One of the things I noticed very quickly after making my priorities decision was that priorities shift very easily. For that reason, they must be continually evaluated and guarded. My reminder to manage the disciplines of priorities is this. Every day, I will live my life according to my priorities. What does that mean? That the following 5 things must be done. 1, evaluate priorities daily. Priorities don't stay put. You have to revisit them every day. Why? Because conditions continually change. So do methods of getting things done. Your values, once defined, are going to be steady. You will be able to rely on them, but how you carry them out needs to be flexible. Number 2, plan your time carefully. According to a survey taken by Daytimers Inc., only 1/3 of American workers plan their daily schedules, and only 9% follow through and complete what they planned. If you want to be effective, you must be able to make the transition to planning. I plan my calendar 40 days at a time, but when I get ready to approach a day, I have the whole thing laid out, hour by hour. It's a rare day that I get up in the morning wondering what I will be doing that day, even when on vacation. Number 3, follow your plan. According to time management expert Alec McKinsey, surveys show that most executives don't get to their most important task until mid-afternoon. Why? Most finished off low-priority tasks so that they could have a sense of accomplishment. If you prioritize your life and plan your day but don't follow through, your results will be the same as those of someone who didn't prioritize at all. Number 4, delegate whenever possible. How do you find the right standard for delegation? When is it right to hand something off, and when is it right to hold on to it? Here's the guideline I use. If someone else can do a task I'm doing 80% as well as I do, then I hand it off. And if I do a good job of motivating, encouraging, and rewarding them, then they will only get better. Number 5, invest in the right people daily. How do you decide whom to spend time with? Certainly you want to treat everyone with respect and try to have a good, positive relationship with everyone, but you should not spend time with everyone equally. Here's what I use to evaluate where to invest my time. Value to the team, natural ability, responsibility, timing, potential, and mentoring fit. I am grateful that I learned to prioritize my life early in my career. No decision I've made has had as great an impact on my life and career. Here's how. In my 20s, my priorities took away the guilt of not doing everything. In my 30s, my priorities helped me separate my strengths from my weaknesses. In my 40s, my priorities gave me a high return on my work. In my 50s, my priorities allow me to staff according to my weaknesses. If you want to increase your focus and become effective on a level you've never experienced before, then make a decision to prioritize your life and manage the discipline of priorities every day. Anytime people reach the highest level in their profession, you can be sure that priorities have been very important to them. That was certainly the case of Betsy Rogers, a teacher in Leeds, Alabama, who became the 2003 National Teacher of the Year. Rogers can't remember a time when she didn't want to be a teacher. It was in her blood and in her family. Her grandmother taught in rural Alabama beginning when she was only 16 years old. Both her grandmother's sisters followed her into the profession, and Rogers' mother taught Sunday school for 50 years. So when she went off to college, she naturally studied to become a teacher too. I wanted to change the world for them, says Rogers. It took me several years to realize I could not change the world in which my students lived. But by understanding that school was the best place for some of my children, I became committed to making my classroom a place where students feel safe, as well as creating an environment that provides joy to those with unfortunate lives. Rogers began teaching in 1974, immediately after finishing her degree. She took 6 years off to take care of her sons until they were school age, but she knew that as soon as they were old enough, she would be back in the classroom. And being connected in the community where she would teach was a priority. So in the early 1980s, she and her husband bought an abandoned farm near her school. Rogers says, "When my husband and I moved our family from a more affluent neighborhood to Leeds 21 years ago, our purpose was to raise our children in an environment with a more diverse population with a rural background. Many of my colleagues did not believe it was beneficial to live in a community where you teach, but I have found this relationship with the Leeds community to be very rewarding and productive. By living and working in Leeds, I truly became a stakeholder in the community. By making that community connection a priority, she has been better able to help her students. She reaches out to parents, has students over to her house, and attends many of their extracurricular activities. We should be very proud of our profession," she says, "and we need to be models. We shouldn't lose sight of the fact that we have impact that we may never see." Because Rogers is focused, she is constantly improving and working to reach her potential in her profession. She believes that teachers must model a dedication to lifelong learning, and she doesn't just give lip service to it. When both her sons were in college, she went back to school herself. She has since earned 3 graduate degrees in 1998, 2000, and 2002. As National Teacher of the Year, she will be expected to spend a year visiting schools and serving as an international spokeswoman for education. When she's finished, she could use the recognition she has received as a springboard to a plum teaching position or a higher-paying administrative position. But that's not what she's about. According to County Superintendent Bob Neighbors, Rogers has inquired about going back to work in a county school on academic alert because of poor test scores. After all, what's the use of improving herself if she can't use what she's learned to help others? Neighbors call Rogers one of those extraordinary naturals for whom teaching is not only her vocation, it is her joy, her daily discovery, and her avocation. Rogers sums it up this way: "I was taught that we are here on this earth to serve." That's her priority, and she is living it out every day.